Good morning, good afternoon, hello, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how to create a EKS cluster using Rancher. So the first step is that you need to log into your Rancher by using the URL like I did right here. Right now we only have one cluster and the cluster is where we install our Rancher, right? So that's why it says local. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to come over here. We're going to make this one bigger and we're going to go to cluster management. Over here, we're going to come over here where it says create and we're going to click on create. Since we want to create a EKS cluster, we're going to use Amazon EKS, but you can use Azure AKS, you can use Google GKE, or you're going to use Digital Ocean or VMware vSpace or Linode. The next video you're going to be how to create a cluster in Linode using Rancher. So let's go ahead and let's select Amazon EKS 2. So now let's name our cluster. We're going to call it Amazon EKS 2. Let's call it EKS 2, but you can call it whatever you want. So over here, you can add people, you can add labels and annotations. Now we need to have some credentials, right? So that Rancher can create a cluster in our AWS, right? So we're gonna select the region. I'm gonna do that to US East 2. As you can see, we don't have credentials yet. So I'm gonna name our credentials. I'm gonna name it AWS EKS secret, right? And as you can see, the region going to be US East 2, and we need the access key. Don't mind this. So right now, the thing we need next is to have the access key and the access key secret, right? Or the secret key, sorry. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger, and I'm going to go to IAM. Over here, I'm going to go to users, and I'm going to create a user, right? I'm going to call it AWS. Let's call the user EKS to make it simple. We don't want the user to have access through console, right? So we are not going to check it. We go next. Let's give the user for now an administrator access just for the sake of this video, but you can prescribe more, you can do more restriction if you want. So we're going to go to next, and I'm going to click on create user. Now that the user is created is right here, I'm going to click on the user and I'm going to go to security credentials. Over here, I'm going to look to create access key. And the access key is going to be for the CLI, the command line interface. And I'm going to confirm that I understand what are the implications. And I'm going to click to next. You can put a tag, but I don't put a tag just for the sake of this video. You click on next, you're going to have the access key and you're going to have the secret key. So those two are the one we want, right? So I'm going to make this one bigger again. So the access key, I'm going to copy it from right here and paste it right here. And the secret key, the secret access key, I'm going to copy it here. I'm going to put it as a secret key right here, right? And I'm going to click on create. So now it's asking me what version of Kubernetes I want to use. Right now, AWS is about to throw the 1.27 in the garbage, but Uh, it seems like Rancher didn't update it yet, but it should be like 1.28, but we're gonna use 1.27 from now for now. And you can add some more configuration if you want, like taggings and all that, but we don't want it, right? But I just want to mention that you guys can see that we have now a credential or a account access has Rancher call it, right? So I'm going to go to the next, configure network. I want my EKS to be public access, right? So I'm going to leave it like that. And I'm going to go to select security groups. I'm not going to touch anything. The only thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to change this one. And let's use T3 to X large. That is the instance type, right? The volume of the instance is going to stay the same. If you want the AMI, if you want to change the AMI means Amazon machine image, right? It's like CentOS, Ubuntu, and all that. If you want to have a specific one, if you want to add access key, you can add it, right? But just for the sake of this, we're going to leave it like that. Then we're going to create a node group, right? I'm going to call my node group NIL1. That is the node group, right? And I want four node, and the maximum going to be 5 node, and the minimum going to be 3 nodes, right? So you can leave it like that. You can add some labels and tags, but I'm going to click on create. After you've done this, you click on create. But before I click on create, I want to come to my EKS. Let me make it a little bit bigger. My Amazon, sorry. I'm going to go to EKS. And you guys going to see that we don't have any cluster and we are using the proper region. We say we're going to create it in US East 2. So we don't have any cluster in US East 2, right? So I'm going to come over here and click on create. Cluster name contain invalid character. Oh, there's no space. I forgot about it. Sorry. So I'm going to click on create. Now it is provisioning, or if you want, Venture is provisioning a Amazon EKS cluster. Let's make this one bigger. And if you see over here, nothing has started yet. Let's give it a little bit of time, then we're going to see that it's going to start. So I'm going to pause the video and come back when we're going to have some progress. And here we go. We can see now that we have a new cluster. We had one cluster, and it's the name of the cluster is the name we gave Amazon-EKS2, and the state says creating, and the version is 1.27. As I said, it's going to be support up to July, and after that we need to use only 2.8. Or if you want an unsupport version, we're going to still use it, but it's not going to be supported, right? So let's wait a little bit for it to start. And if I refresh, nothing has changed. If I click over here, we're going to see more details. We don't have an API server endpoint. We don't have a certificate authority yet. We don't have the OpenID Connect provider URL. And if I go to compute, we see that we don't have the node group yet. Don't forget the node group is going to be NIL1. So we don't have a node group. We don't have node yet. So let's pause the video again and give it a little bit of time to create everything. And we have some progress. We have like 3 more notifications. And as you guys can see, it is warning us. And we're still waiting on. Now the cluster says active, right? And we have the node group. Uh, as- if you remember, we said that we want the node group name an IL1, and the desire is 4 node. The minimum was 2, I think, 3, I think, and the maximum was 5. It's 5, sorry. So the node can be created, and let's go to EC2 and see if we have some node over there. And you guys can see that we have 4 nodes created, and those nodes are for our EKS, right? So let's go back to our EKS, and it's active, but it's not ready yet. So we are waiting over here, as you guys can see over here. The rancher is still waiting, right? So we're going to be patient. Let's be a little bit patient. I'm going to pause the video and come back. And now the state says active. Let's come back to our AWS console, right? And you guys going to see that we have our API server endpoint ready. We have our certificate authority ready. And we also have our OpenID Connect provider URL, right? And we also have our cluster ARN. So everything is ready. And now there's multiple way of connecting to this cluster, right? And over here, you can upgrade the version or update the version, right? So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to the Rancher console, and I'm going to make sure that I can see all my nodes. I can also have the provisioning logs, the conditions. You can see the conditions. You can also see the recent event, right? And we can see the related resources, right? So we're going to come back to the pod. And what I want is that I'm going to go to the, as you guys can see, it is YN right now. And you can go to home, and you're going to see the wire. You click on it. You're going to see the namespace. You can create a namespace. You're going to see the node. You're going to see the cluster and project members. You can add people. You can see events wire. And you can see the workload and all that, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is that I want to connect to this EKS cluster, right? So how do I do that? I'm going to pause the video and set up everything so that you guys can see how to do that. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to come here. Let me make this one bigger, right? And make sure that you are on the proper cluster, right? And you're going to come over here. You see, copy kube config. I'm going to copy it. Then I'm going to go to my kube config, right? Let's go over there. So this is my kube config, but I'm going to create a new file. Let's create a new file, new config, right? And I'm going to paste this one right here. Let me make this one bigger. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to take my config right here, don't mind other stuff, and I'm going to delete right here. I have my new config right here. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy this part for the clusters. I copy this part. I'm going to come and paste it and add it to my kube config. As you guys can see, I just add my new cluster. And I'm also going to add a user that's going to enable me to connect to that cluster. I'm going to put the new user right there. For the context, I'm not going to add the current context. I'm just going to take the name of the context, right? All that, and I'm going to put it right here. And I save everything. Let's make this one back smaller, right? So now, so we don't need the new config anymore, right? let's make it smaller again. So if I do kube config get context, I see that the default one is my old, right? So I want my new one to be my Amazon EKS to be the the default context. So let's switch context, right? I'm gonna do, because the default one is this, we want this context, we want to use this context. So we're gonna do kubectl config use hyphen context, and the context is going to be Amazon hyphen EKS2. And let's check now if that is the current context now. And yes, you guys can see that the star is now on Amazon EKS2. We don't really need this one. Let's let's leave it there for now. So we can delete the configs. So now if I do kubectl get node, I will see all my 4 nodes, and you guys can see them. And if we do kubectl get port, you're going to see that we don't have port. Or if we do all namespaces, you're going to see all the port, right? And you guys are going to see something special. We're going to see this. These are very important for our venture to be able to manage this cluster. So this should be ready or complete. So now we are able to connect to our EKS. Let's deploy something. Let's deploy something to our EKS, right? Let's create a new file. Let's call it test.yaml. And I'm going to go to line node, and I'm going to copy some item there. I'm just going to copy a service and a deployment. I'm going to paste it here. I have the service and I have one deployment. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to come over here. I'm going to I'm going to do kubectl apply -f, and we decided to call it test, right? And we're going to see that we're going to have new port created, right? If we do kubectl get port, we're going to see new port right here. So we are able to deploy to our EKS cluster. That is how we add we create a EKS cluster using Rancher. With this said, that means that we are done with the process of creating a EKS cluster using Rancher and also connecting to that EKS cluster, right? We took the kube config from Rancher. So now let's say that you are done, right? Everything goes well, you are done. And let's say this was just for testing, right? And they ask you to delete the cluster. How can you delete the cluster? You're going to come over here and you're going to go to cluster management. You're going to check the cluster and you're going to come over here. You're going to click on delete. And you're going to put the name of the cluster, right? Amazon-EKS2, right? As soon as you click on delete, it's going to start the process of deleting the cluster, or the process of destroying the cluster. So be very, very careful. If you are a junior DevOps engineer, be very careful when using this. So we're going to click on delete, and it's going to say removing, and everything is removed, right? But you're not going to see it over here anymore. So I can put this one, I can make this one bigger. If I refresh this one, you're going to see that it's still active, right? Let's keep refreshing. And at one point, you're going to see that it's going to say destroy. So let's wait a little bit. And let's go to, it's still saying active, right? But if we go to overview, we're going to see that we start missing some stuff, right? Let's go to compute. And over here, we're going to see the node group, right? So it is deleting the node group right now as we speak. Let's go to the EC2 instance and confirm it. So now we only have one node running, but it's going to be deleted as well. All of them are terminated, right? So it is destroying our cluster. Let's go back to the Kubernetes cluster, right? It still say active, but it started the process of deleting everything. So it's wire is deleting. Let's wait a little bit. Let's be patient, and we're gonna see how it's gonna destroy all this cluster. I'm gonna pause the video and come back when it's deleted. And this process can take long, can take like up to like 30, up to like an hour, depending on the cluster. And here we go. It says deleting, right? So if you come over here, it's going to say deleting the cluster. And if we go back to see our EC2 instances, we're going to see that all of them are not running anymore. And if I click over here, all of them are terminated. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's going to delete this cluster. And basically, that is how we do it. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment if you want me to do something else, or you want me to do some demonstration. I'm willing to do so. So see you next time. Ciao.